Suneera Madhani. Suneera Madhani.
Without much further ado, I'd like to welcome Suneera.
Hi, I'm Suneera Madhani, a mom of two, daughter of an immigrant, and an unlikely entrepreneur who built a billion-dollar business. Yes, billion. Now I'm doing it again and building my second unicorn, Worth. Shockingly, less than 2% of female founders ever reach 1 million in revenue, and I'm on a mission to change that. At CEO School, we mentor thousands of women to help them level up in business and in life. We believe that you deserve to have it all because honestly, nothing bad happens when women make more money. Grab a seat because class is officially in session. Welcome to CEO School. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CEO School podcast. I am so thrilled for today's episode because it's been so long and we have not had Brielle Cotterman on, and I've got so many exciting updates for you. This is going to be our first interview of the year, first interview in a really, really long time. And I was thinking about 2025 and how I wanted to start your year. I hope you caught last week's episode. It was all about the rituals in our mindset. And now I really want to focus on you as a leader, as an influencer. And influence can mean so many incredible things. It doesn't have to be the word influencer of what we think it to be, but a thought leader. And I want you to be a thought leader as a CEO as well going into 2025. And so with that, I thought, who better than to have my own publicist, my own business partner, my own publicist, Brielle Cotterman on today, and I am so excited to have you, Brielle. Brielle, welcome to CEO School.
Thank you, Suneera, for having me. So excited to be here with you.
I'm so excited. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What an amazing opportunity we have in 2025 to make this year amazing.
It really is. I feel like New Year's just really feel like you get that fresh start. Like I was so over at the end of last year. I was like, it was such an incredible year last year. We did so much. We did so much together. We should talk about that. I want everyone to get to know our relationship, our story. But 2024 is done. It's in the past. We have a new year we get to focus on. And with that, going into this season and going into this year, we're still focused on the freedom formula always, right? So we're gonna, have our freedom of dollar. We're gonna have our freedom of time. And we're so excited to make impact and influence and do work that is meaningful. And you've really just helped me and allowed me to bring that into my business world every single day. So I would love for the audience to get to know who you are. So tell us a little bit about your background. You are the CEO of ILA, Influential Leader Agency, and you are now the president of CEO School. So lots of big titles, a mom, a horse, a world equestrian champion. You live on a farm in Kentucky and you are just fabulous in all the things. So please let the audience get to know who you are. So I just want them to know everything about you.
Thank you, Suneera. Yes, I have, from a job title perspective, I'm the founder of what is now the Influential Leader Agency, which I created almost 15 years ago now. Previously, Brielle Cotterman Media. And so proud and honored to be the president of CEO School alongside you. And it really just furthers my mission as well. I know that you and I have such similar hearts for raising women up. So it's a big part of the work that I do. My passions, I'm a world champion equestrian. So I live on a horse farm. I have tons of animals. I love nature. I do a lot of volunteer work in the space of advocacy against domestic violence for women. And I spent a lot of years as a professional spokesperson on behalf of charitable organizations. So I feel like, as I'm sure you can attest to this, like I am an advocate at my heart, at my core. And so I have the unique opportunity through the Influential Leader Agency and influence, as we talked about, making this your year of influence, to help people just do amazing things in the world, raise up their career and who they are and what they're doing.
I think it's so important. And I think that, it really changed the game for me when you always have you want to be able to share your story well. You want to be able to have the world talk about your story in the way that can drive business or drive your passions and impact. But it really changed the game for me when I had a professional understand who I am and then help package some of that together and also help my purpose get like even more clear. I think that's been something over the last several years. I've had a lot of influence. I've had PR and opportunities, and I thought PR was always the same as like in this other world. Like I thought it was this one world of just press and accolades and the media. And it's so much more than that. And it's about aligning your purpose, your personal brand. What stories do you want to be able to tell, and where do you want to be able to make an impact? And I feel like you were such a hand in helping me just remove all the noise around me in my life and help me get really clear on the impact that I want to have, where I'm going to drive influence, what my personal brand needs to actually, what feels authentic to me in that as well. So it's not just like it's just been so game changer for me. I would love for you to share like even my journey on like how you were able to just package it all up and make it so seamless for me.
Absolutely. We've been doing this for so long and we do things very differently. So it's not just PR. It is personal brand.
Yeah.
It's what you talked about. It's getting to know who you are as a person. And I think that's the typical major issue. I worked in some of the largest PR agencies around. I actually started off as a ghost author. So ghost authoring subject matter expert books and really getting to know not just the content, but the people behind them. And that's where I saw this huge gap in the industry. So publicity is not necessarily something that you pursue once you get to a specific place. If you use it properly, PR is a tool to create the kind of impact and do the things that you want to do, not just professionally, but personally. And so when it comes to packaging up that story, I always think about that saying, like never meet your heroes. And I know that we've all had that experience, and we never want that to happen for any of our clients. We don't ever want anyone to be, because you can get PR, you can be that kind of flash in the pan, here today, gone tomorrow, like hot story of the moment. But we want strategic and consistent credibility, reputation building. We want people showing up in a way that is really authentic. And that doesn't happen if you don't get really clear on your stories. It's just like with you, Suneera, you have so many stories because you've done so many things.
Yeah.
But it's what are the stories and what are the pieces of those stories that will really connect with people on a human level? Because that's what, we're all looking to grow our audience. We're all looking to support our cause, to create influence, all of these different pieces. And unless you have some level of humanness, then it's really hard to do. And I think especially as women, we get so caught up sometimes in, I can only talk about the credibility markers. I can only talk about the shiny. And we forget that being a human being and showing up as a person is far more important.
I think this topic of personal brand is so key going into 2025. Like you are the best, like as these are busy CEOs, we all want to have success in our business, but I think now we live in a time where business is personal. I've been saying this for years, and I do feel like finally, like everyone does understand that business is personal, and your personal brand is so critical to the success of your overall business as well. I've promised our listeners for every interview that we have, we're going to take away tangible, actionable tips. And so my question to you is, what are the foundational steps that these CEOs should be thinking about to really elevate their personal brand in 2025? So like, what are the actionable, tangible things? How would you, give her the framework right now? You don't know who she is on the other side, but what would be the first few steps that you would say, here's what we're going to go take a look at and think about?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to figure out where you are to begin with, and then figure out where you want to go in order to build the strategy to get there. So when we think about leadership, we think there are 4 tiers. So there is that local and regional space. And, those are particularly brands that are mainly doing business in that local and regional space. Then we think about the niche specific. And the top tier is that influential leader, the thought leader. And I guess probably I skipped one before the local and regional is that emerging leader. So where are you from a thought leadership perspective to begin with? Your personal brand, you need to be able to identify what is your personal mission, vision, and values. We publicize the mission, vision, and values of our organization all the time, and we rarely take the time to figure those things out for ourselves. Because while you do represent your business, and we know that consumers are becoming more and more and more savvy, they want to buy from individuals and human beings, real people. So people are 70 times more likely to believe and receive information when it comes from a person versus when it comes from an organization.
Yeah.
So you have got to
70 times.
create your thought leadership to support the success of your organization, to support what it is you're going to be doing in the future. So your mission, vision, and values don't necessarily have to be exactly the same of your organization, but you have to identify where they intersect. So like, for instance, with me coming into CEO school, it's very important for me that CEO school is about empowering women. It's about giving them opportunity. It's about raising them up. That is a huge value for me. So while my values are not 100% exactly the same as CEO schools, my values are not exactly what they are for the influential leader agency, I know exactly where they intersect. So I can bring that into every single conversation and every single opportunity. I can give complete clarity why I'm there, who I am, and why it matters to me.
I love that. So it's knowing your personal values outside of just the business values. It's like, this is what's important to me. It's so true. I feel like, that part of it, you're just happier in your role as CEO when that fully just aligns as well, that it does align to the right customers, right opportunities, when you have that value aligned principle on the other side. Like, it's so important to know what those things are. I mean, for me, team is really important. Like, it is so important. It's like who I am as a person. It's how I grew up as my family. It's the same value in my business, but it's a very strong value core of mine that we always operate team above self. Like, that is how we are. And having, like, just enjoying, like, quality time is, I don't know, my personal value, I would say. And I feel like that's how I operate business as well. And when I do feel that it's not in alignment, it feels overwhelming, or it's not there, that personal touch is lost. And it's like, oh, because I'm misaligned with my values. So knowing your personal values into building that into your thought leadership or into your personal brand story is what you're talking about.
Absolutely. So once you develop what are my own mission, vision, and values, and I can tell you this is a much harder exercise than identifying that for your organization, because it forces you to be real and like super objective. And once you figure those things out, then you figure out what are the stories that support those. You've done so many things. You have so many stories. The majority of us, especially women, we are in one of two camps. We're either, I have so many stories, I don't know which one to tell, or gosh, I don't know if my story is going to bring a ton of value. And the truth is, everyone has a story that matters to someone else. In the end of my TEDx talk, I say, your story belongs just as much to the people that need to hear it as it does to you. And that's 100% the truth. You don't have to tell every story. You don't have to tell every detail. But people need to know who you are. They need to know who you are and what you stand for. And it's one thing to stand here and say, I stand for this, but it's a whole nother thing to be human and embrace a certain level of vulnerability and authenticity and really tell a story that creates connection and inspires action. And that's when you give people the opportunity to know who you are, to start to fall in love with you. And it gives you the opportunity to find those soulmate level clients, the soulmate level collaborative partners, because people know who you are. They know what you stand for.
I love that. And that's what we have an opportunity to be able to showcase and share. Now, I'm a CEO listening and I'm like, yeah, I do know who I am. I want to attract those clients. I want my thought leadership to be authentic, but I don't know where to begin, right? There's so much going on. Like, do I start with social media? Do I start with, with PR immediately? Like, where do I begin? And what are some, if you can talk about some mistakes that you've seen other CEOs just make when they're getting off the bat and be like, okay, now I'm ready to do this. And then I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Or like, how can you help me now take the best actionable steps forward?
The biggest mistake that I see people make, and it's 100% an honest mistake. It's not, is that they don't build their personal brand earlier on. The biggest mistake is that they're head down, building the business, so focused on making things work, making things run the right way, as you should be. And And there should be this parallel path. It should work like a train track. So while you're building your business, if you are not building your influence and your impact and your thought leadership, what's going to happen is you're going to look up one day and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, my business is amazing. And to get to the next level, people have to know who I am. And so now I've got this amazing business and I'm going to have to play catch up. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to have to start building my thought leadership. People are going to have to start knowing who I am. That's the biggest mistake that I see people make. They focus so much on the business and the brand and the colors and the logos and the fonts. They forget the human behind it. And so it's that like stepping out from behind the curtain that ends up being a much heavier lift when you wait until the business has gotten to a certain point.
So the biggest mistake is just not starting, right? That's it. It's just getting started.
100%. Well, we all have a personal brand. It's just whether or not you take the time to curate it. So while you're building the business, like you've got a personal brand. It's just you either you lead the narrative or somebody else does, because the story is going to be told. So my advice is to lead from the front. Take into consideration what are your mission, vision, and values right now. Identify what are my stories that support those and start showing up. The other thing is that statistically, entrepreneurs are not just a one and done type person. I mean, look at yourself. You do multiple things. Look at me. We do multiple things. And if you don't have a solid personal brand, that is one thing that stays with you forever. Whether you make an exit, whether you write a book, whether you start another company, whether you start a charitable organization, your personal brand is something that goes with you forever.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like my first 10 years of my business, I felt like I made it all about the business, and I was trying to find my own story within my business. And I do feel like I wish I started earlier, and post my exit, I had to do so much work to almost let go of my past to even move forward, because I was so attached to my company as a person.
People identified you with that company as a person instead of who is this amazing thought leader who has done all of these incredible things and forged all of these paths for us.
So my question to you is, so where do you begin, right? So is it social media right now that I have to be thinking about? Like, what you've got to have a strong social.
You got to have a strong social. Here's the thing. We always do an audit when people come in as a client, and we make strategic recommendations. I'm not saying you have to go hire the most expensive social media agency straight out of the gate to build your thought leadership. But what you do have to do is you have to identify 4 pillars. I know you and I have been through this exercise. You shouldn't be talking outside of that. Mine are super simple. Yours are super straightforward. Mine are family, my farm and nature and animals is one big chunk, and then storytelling and the power of publicity, like how to leverage your personal brand to create success in your business. So those are the 4 things. Those are the only 4 things I ever talk about on social. If you look at my social, you will only ever see those 4 things. You will see a picture of a mini cow. You will see a picture of my horses, my dogs, all of those things, because that's me. Because if I left that out of my personal social, that would be so inauthentic, because that is a huge part of who I am. Just like with your social, family is a huge part of who you are. Yep. We will see that if we look at your social media. It gives people the opportunity to know you, and it humanizes you.
No, I fully agree with that. I think social is a great place to start, but it can feel so overwhelming, right? It is. And it's like, I think that the process that I feel like I really took away, that I want all of you to take away, is exactly what Brielle said on just pick the 4 things, right? So like pick the pillars, even if it's 3 to 5, I think is that magic number. And that's it. That's what you post about. That's what you talk about. And you're incorporating those things for the world to see and to let in. It doesn't even have to be all of it. Even if there's something that's huge that you don't want the world to let in, and you are this most amazing cello player and it's a huge part of what your life is, but you want nobody to know about it, that's up to you. You don't have to let everybody in on everything. And I think that's where people get overwhelmed with social media, is because they're trying to do too much versus
and they're trying to talk about too much.
Yeah, or versus just trying to say, okay, here are the 4 things that I'm going to talk about, and here are my pillars. And for me, you'll be able to find that too. And your pillars can evolve, right? It can evolve with 100%. The season. So for me, it's the same thing. It's my family that's super important. Being a CEO, you're going to go to my page, and you're going to see CEO tips, whatever those CEO productivity hacks, CEO thought leadership. You're going to see me talking about my businesses, right? So you're going to see worth in and of itself now. And you're going to see CEO School have its own space too. It used to be all together, and it's like, here's supporting women is part of my space. And so that is a pillar that you will see of where I'm showing up, what events I'm going to, what organizations I'm supporting is still within that pillar of supporting women. And so that's a pillar that I have. And then this other pillar that like I feel like it's emerged like over my evolution is is almost in a weird way, it's fashion. Like I love to dress up and to look my best, and I feel confident in my routines at work, and so I share those routines. And it's still CEO related though. And where I felt like I was getting lost in sharing it was like, oh, do I share everything? Do I share my this? Like, no, I just want to share my CEO fits, right? And so that became part of when you go to my page and you'll see my CEO fit checks. And I was starting to do other kinds. No, it's just my CEO fit checks. Or I'll do fit checks with my family because family is part of my brand, right? And so it makes it super, super clear on even how I'm showing up. And that is something that I will say, take that actionable step in building that. And social's not going anywhere, unfortunately. And it doesn't have to be all of the channels. It could just be one.
That's right. And it's not going anywhere. And what we do know is that 95% or more of media decision makers check out your social media first. So when you're thinking about your thought leadership,
say that again. 95%. Say that again.
So 95% of media decision makers, and I think it's even higher that for non-media decision makers, go to your social first. So they're going to check out your social before they're going to look at anything else. I know we get caught up in, I want these big, beautiful media kits, and please, this has got to go. People don't open attachments. They just don't. It's great. It's great to have, and it's a beautiful resource, and they're going to go look at your social. So thinking about, I would say first is think about what is your mission, vision, and value. So that's action step one. Actually write it down. Spend some time. Give yourself the luxury of some time to be objective about that. And then go back and look at your social. Are you showing up that way? Does it represent that? Chances are it's probably not super duper clear. So take that, drill down to those 4 pillars, and then think about what are the stories that support that? Because just like, showing up with your family and doing the family fit checks, it tells a story. When I see those, it's family is important to you. And we see that over and over and over again. So I know what you stand for. And we can say so many things without saying it by being really thoughtful about the content that we put into the world. Your personal brand at the Influential Leader Agency, the way we define that is the way you leave people feeling. So if I meet you in person, it's easy for you to walk away being like, oh my gosh, I love this about her, and we hugged and we got to shake hands, and it's so much easier when we're face to face and we have that opportunity to share energy and have an interaction. Our vision is we want people to be able to have that same experience with you through your social media, through your podcast interviews, when you're standing on the stage and speaking. And you asked earlier, what's the biggest mistake that I see people make? One is not starting. Second is talking about too many things. So when people decide that they want to step forward as a thought leader, you can't be the jack of all trades or the Jill of all trades. You can't, it's not going to work. People come to us all the time and they want to be a speaker and they want to get a book deal or, whatever it might be. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of preparation to fine tune and hone the content that you're putting into the world to make sure that you're showing up as the guest, as the expert in your space, as that thought leader in your space.
I think I can think of so many people that so many questions I get all the time on it. And I feel like you've just made it so simple to say, just go focus on this. It doesn't have to be everything, but I do think it is important. And another thing that a thought that came to my mind while you were sharing this is it's not about the followers. So I think people make the biggest mistake of when you're like social media, you're trying to be like, oh, what's going to drive engagement and what's going to drive followers? You don't have to be an influencer in that way, but it is your media page. It is what people will read about you and say about you. And you're totally right. Even in my professional, even for work, for Worth, every time I go and even when I have a meeting, I have my team prepare a briefing sheet for me before I go into a meeting. So they put in the bio, but they're pulling directly from LinkedIn. They're not going to something else. They're going directly to LinkedIn. I get their profile photo. I get what they're saying about themselves. And I trust what they're saying about themselves on LinkedIn to be true. Maybe it's completely false. I don't know. But that's even the first place that we go to get briefed about somebody. And so it is important. That is where your profiles live. We don't look at how many thousands of followers they have on LinkedIn or, if they got 500 likes on their last post, right? It's about who they are. And we do that in Millionaire Founders Club, which I'm so excited to talk about with you here shortly. First thing we do, we go check you out. We're like, oh my God, is she awesome? She's so awesome. We're dying to meet her. We see her application where somebody made a recommendation. We go directly to her, but we're not looking at, oh, look at her 500 likes on this photo. That's not at all what we're looking at. We're just looking to find who this person is. And so with that, think about that. What does your social media say about you? And you have an opportunity to write that story, right? And it doesn't take, you can literally do it over 2 weeks worth of posts. It does not have to be, you don't have to put out content every single day. It's about sharing that story correctly. Is your bio correct? Just simple, is your profile picture correct? Just basic things of how you want to be seen in the world. Own that story.
And authentically.
Authentically. And so to part number 2, which I know the audience really wants to hear from you on, so that media can be leveraged, right? So you said 95% of media, people who are deciding on media go to social media first. Now, 2025, what are the hottest trends in publicity right now, in media right now? How can our CEOs here go get earned media even without an agency? So tell us your best tips and how you're thinking about 2025 for your clients, because we need those actionable insights.
So it's the exact same strategy that you teach within CEO school. It's land, then expand. It's the exact same thing when you think about PR, when you think about your personal brand. Focus on your expertise and then build from there. So you're not going to start in thought leadership with people wanting to know what you're wearing unless you are a fashion person. They are going to start to create connection because they're your people and they're drawn to you because you are a CEO. You are an advocate for women. That's why they're there first. Then once you develop that space, then they become more curious. Okay, well, what does she wear? Where are they going to eat? What are they doing? So it's land, then expand. So stay focused on your area of expertise and become the go-to person in that space. So when you're thinking about PR, never underestimate the power of local and regional media. I know you and I share this sentiment. We've talked about it tremendously. We've talked about this many, many times. When you have the opportunity to pursue local and regional media, no matter what level of media you're pursuing, it's always about giving the audience benefit. So you are serving that audience. So you are going to come in, you're going to give an amazing interview, you're going to have actionable tips. Every single media opportunity, if used properly, can become a sales funnel. And we are huge believers in selling without selling. So you want to go in there, you want to dazzle that broadcast journalist or the producer, whether it is a local television interview or a local radio interview, whatever it might be, local and regional, they have a connection to you because you are either there, your business is there, you're making an impact in that community in some way. So start there and remember that you are serving their audience. So you're selling without selling. Never are they going to say yes to a very salesy pitch. They want to see what is relevant to my audience right now. So for instance, in the new year, we have an incredible client who just wrote a book. It's about to come out about her weight loss journey. She lost over 100 pounds. That is something that brings a ton of value to her local and regional media because she's going to be able to give these people actionable tips so that they can go live a healthier lifestyle. They are saying yes to her over and over and over again because she brings value, not because she stands up there and she's like, hey, check out my book. So remember, everybody has that what's in it for me. And the audience has that, the producer has that, the journalist has that. So it's your job to show up and serve them. So keeping that in mind, start with local and regional, show up in a way where you're providing so much value providing a great interview, giving people actionable takeaways, and you're going to get asked back over and over and over again. And if you start with that local and regional media, that's the best way to get the Good Morning Americas, the Today shows, all of that, because when you compile those reels, you're able to say, look, I am the go-to expert in this country. People are coming to me for this area of expertise. And here's the incredible segment that I can give to you, because you have so much proof and credibility and authority that you're showing over and over and over again. So don't underestimate the value of local and regional. And I love niche specific opportunities too.
I love that. And I think it goes back to being very strategic about that pillar, right? What is your area of thought leadership? So what are the areas that you are providing value? What are the things that are that you are an expert in, that is part of your niche, that is part of your specific? Like, I feel like I have really honed in on CEO, right? Female CEOs. That is my area of expertise, building big businesses and scale, right? And so it's finance, right? I'm a fintech CEO. So these are my lanes and what I'm talking about, who I'm talking to. And so when there are opportunities, they're like, oh yeah, let me go think about Suneera. Suneera would be perfect for this because I've already built my profile. And no matter where you go, where I go on LinkedIn, an article I'm writing, a blog, a podcast I'm on, that story and that thought leadership is consistent. So I'm consistently showing up.
Well, and think about everywhere that you show up. When you speak, even if you're speaking in the corporate setting, you still are relating that back to your journey as a CEO, as a woman CEO. So it's all very, very consistent. So that's the biggest piece. You have to have that lens of consistency.
And then I think that, what are some of the most underutilized PR strategies? Like, should you be cold pitching? Should you be applying for awards? Like, what are some of the things that you're like, people just don't utilize this enough? I want our CEO school listeners to be like, oh, I'm taking that tip right now and doing that, Brielle.
Okay, so my biggest and best tip, especially for women and women founders moving to CEO, is your non-traditional credibility markers.
Okay.
We forget about them.
What is a non-traditional?
Don't value them.
I'm going to ask, what is that?
Okay, so traditional credibility, this is the way we define them at the ILA. Traditional credibility markers are related to work or education. So they are awards, they are promotions, they are achievements and accomplishments. And you are so much more than that. As a person, you bring so much more value than just the awards or professional achievements that you have accumulated throughout your lifetime. And just like this entire conversation, people want to connect with other people. Human beings are hardwired for story. That's the reason why there are sketches and hieroglyphics in the caves, because people have been telling stories since the beginning of time, and we learn best through story. So you may not think that some of your non-traditional credibility markers have any bearing on your business. You may not think that they're newsworthy, but they are. So if you tell me that you created this incredible business and you grew it to 7 figures within a year, and you want to go on the news to give somebody actionable tips to be able to do the same thing, they get 100 million pitches that look like that every single day. But if you can tell me that you're a single mom of 2 and you've been able to balance and build this incredible business while working with your charitable organization, and you can give me a story, you can show me a story of who you are as a human being, I'm so much more likely to say yes to you and to bring you onto my show, because you're going to create connection. So you're going to be serving my audience and they're going to feel connected to you. So when we think about stories, if you're telling them the right way, you should be doing 2 things. You should be creating connection and inspiring action. So when you create connection, and think about the stories that you tell, Suneera, like you've been able to do this beautifully. You create connection because psychologically, it allows you to tap into the emotions that they felt when they overcame a challenge or when they went through an obstacle. It doesn't have to be the same as yours. And then when you share the rise, who are you? What are you doing now? They when you share the challenge, they think, oh my gosh, I knew I loved her. Like, she gets me. And then when you share the rise, like, I've been able to do this. And then they think, she can do it. I can do it. I can do it too. And that's what we're really all here for, that impact. And if we do it well, it's going to support and promote everything we want to do with our personal brand and with our business.
Isn't she incredible? She's so incredible. I love you so much, Brielle. I
love you.
working with you. We've been working together
Likewise.
for over a year now. I met Brielle actually because she pitched me to come speak as a keynote speaker. And our interaction, I knew I was going to love this woman because I said no. And somehow she got a yes out of me. Even after I said no, she got me for half the price that I was willing to say yes to for. And then I ended up doing twice as much more than I was willing to do. I don't even know. Like you ended up getting like,
I feel like there were like 100 emails exchanged during that time too.
And your favorite word, her favorite word is and I left leaving that event, feeling like that was like so incredible. Like I enjoyed every moment of it. So I did not once feel like I was like, oh, I was asked all this stuff. Like I was like, when am I coming back? Like I'll do it for half that again. Like I would do it again because I had so much fun in doing it. And just that whole interaction was so wonderful that I was like, who is she? And how did she get me to do this? I want to hire her to represent me as my manager. So Brielle ended up becoming my manager. So she's my momager. So if anyone ever asks to book me, any brand, like anything goes through her. So she's my full-on momager. And we obviously built a very close relationship over the last like 18 months because of that. And then as I was building Worth, I've been sharing about, look, I need to get some of the day-to-day off of CEO School. And CEO School, just even refining what it looks like for me right now, right? Because I'm really focused on building the tech company. And this business for us is more a business of impact than it is like that day-to-day. So we've got a really small team. We've got a great tiny team that produces a show, that we get a newsletter out, that we have, a social media, like we put out some fun social media. And we have two programs, Founders Club and Millionaire Founders Club. Founders Club is pretty self-running, and we want to give access and education and content. That's where our content lives for CEOs. And I have a beautiful space for women that are 7 figures and above that we want to get together in person. I could say yes to doing conferences. I could say yes to being, but my schedule and where my current value system is for the business, I don't want to turn this into a business in that capacity. Otherwise, I'm not going to love what I do, because then it's going to turn into that day-to-day of just making money. That's not why we're doing this. And so I asked Brielle, I said, would you consider coming on board and just helping me run all of the programming? You are like the ideal, also that 7-figure business owner, so that who you're talking to. Your love for women is so undeniably true. And then you're just the best human. And we're completely opposite too in so many ways, right? Like we're so opposite we're
so much alike.
So much alike. But us together, it's like the blonde hair, we're literally Alphaba and Galinda here. Yeah. And as opposite as we can be, but we literally have where she's the same person. Such an incredible mom, such an incredible everything. And just your advocacy for women is so strong and fierce. And so she said yes last year, and we've just been incorporating her into the role, and I've been able to really fully step out. So it's been so incredible for me. And this is, CEO School, right? This is what you guys have been part of for so long, is, hiring and partnering with also the right people, right? And so there's so many ways to form strategic relationships in your business. And you're like, oh, I want to have a president like this. Even the way that we've been able to work through where she spends her time with her agency and how much time she's devoted here, like we can make things work. And so there's so many creative ways. I just want to encourage you to work with smart, strategic humans. It's not just about delegation. 1 + 1 should equal 3 when you're thinking about your teams. And having a really strong leader like this is just game changer for me, game changer for the business. And I'm so excited for all of our audience to start getting to know you as well, especially in that full pillar of that, the huge part of, it's time, dollar, and impact and influence. And you get to represent all of that. And so you're the best.
Thank you. Thank you. And, excuse me, I think that not only is our agency proven, but I believe this at my core. And I think this is the reason why we do things differently. If you do the impact piece right, the other pieces amplify as well. So if you do the personal brand right, if you show up in service of others, if you are showing up in a way that's bringing so much value, that you're creating this influence and impact, not only do you start to become identified as that thought leader, but it impacts your freedom of time. It impacts your freedom of dollar. It gives you the opportunity to build those pieces as well. And I could not be happier to be a part of CEO School with you. And I love as well, the other piece that I think is really important is working with people that you like. I think that's a big thing. And I know we're not always going to like every single person that we work with, but when you have the opportunity to partner with people who you enjoy, that you enjoy their company and you respect them from a thought leadership place, and that's really, really important to bring to the table.
It really is. And that goes across the board with like your team, your partners, your customers,
providers,
everyone. You've got to have that value component too. It makes just energy so much better in the business. Well, Brielle, thank you so much for coming on to talk about thought leadership, telling your story, how to leverage media and PR. Where can everyone find you and see your personal story and also learn more about ILA?
The easiest way to find me anywhere is my name. It's Brielle Cotterman. So on Instagram. And if anyone who is listening to the episode hops into my Instagram and leaves me the message CEO School, will provide a really cool, tangible takeaway that kind of breaks down some of the things that we've talked about today so you can put them into action.
Oh, I love that. Perfection. See, always tangible. And so go get that playbook. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I'm so happy to have you on. We can't wait to continue to have you on, Brielle. Brielle and I lead Millionaire Founders Club programming as well. So she's my co-host for the retreat and for the event. So her and I actually get to do all of the panels, all of it. So we're like two peas in a pod when it comes to interviewing. So I hope to have you on, Brielle, on the show as well as like a guest interviewer as well, because I think people would really love. You're so great at it. I've seen it in real life. So I'd love, and I know that's part of your background, but I'm excited for our audience on the podcast to get to know you. So go get to know Brielle, tell her hi, welcome her to Team CEO. And I hope you enjoyed listening. Go check her out. Leave us a review on the show. Share this episode with all of your business besties. And I'm so excited for 2025. I hope your year is off to a rocking start. Next episode we're going to be talking, don't miss every week. We've got the best episodes coming for you. Next week, I'm going into my top time hacks to shave off 10 hours a week of your time in 2025. So I'm going to give you back 10 hours a week if you just listen to my 1 hour show, 40-minute show. So be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss next week's episode. I will see you then, everyone, back at CEO School.